Massive shelling of Ukraine. The Russians have launched a record number of drones. About the consequences of the attack, the international reaction and the response to the occupiers. I'll tell you about it right now. Hello friends, I'm Irina Prokofieva and this is TSN. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch the broadcast and be sure to comment on the materials you find most interesting. We're getting started. Last night, Ukraine endured a massive Russian attack. It was a combined enemy strike using drones and missiles. More than 800 drones were launched from Russia and temporarily occupied Crimea. Our air defense forces shot down or suppressed 747 Shaheds and decoy drones. 4 Kh-101 cruise missiles were also shot down. At the same time, 9 Russian missiles and 54 attack drones struck at 33 locations. In 8 of them, crashes were recorded in Kyiv. It was yet another terrifying night for the capital. Drones and missiles terrorized Kyiv for almost 10 hours straight. Civilians were once again under attack. It is known that 2 people were killed, an infant and a 32-year-old woman. They lived in the most heavily damaged apartment building in the Sviatoshinsky district. Civilian buildings were also damaged in the Darnitsky and Holosivsky districts. Last night in the capital, many people were wounded. Some are now in the hospital, including a pregnant woman. She underwent an emergency delivery. For the first time since the start of the full-scale war, a government building was damaged by missile strikes. A fire broke out there, covering 800 square meters. It has already been extinguished. TSN correspondent Olena Matsiutska visited the sites of enemy strikes in the capital.
Judging by the damaged structures and traces of fire, eyewitnesses say it was a direct hit by a Shahed drone. The building was literally pierced through. This happened at around 3 in the morning. After the strike, the section from the 4th to the 8th floor was partially destroyed. A fire broke out. The moment of the explosion was captured by a surveillance camera from the building across the street. Many people from this damaged building were able to evacuate on their own.
Can't you hear? No!
What should I build?
It's impossible to endure this. Simply impossible.
I heard the sound of that Shahed and it hit right at home. I live on the 2nd floor, a bit to the left and below where it actually hit, the impact site, and it was a bit scary.
Oleksiy lives across the street. He got alert after hearing the first drone, and then there was an explosion in his yard.
I go out onto the balcony to look and everything is already just on fire. These floors tragically start to catch fire, slowly crumble into dust, and it's truly incredibly hard to watch this devastating scene unfold before your very eyes.
2 bodies have been found, a woman and an infant. Rescuers immediately began searching for those who might be trapped under the rubble.
According to our information, there may still be people, so we will continue working until we are certain that there is absolutely no one left under the debris.
17 apartments have been completely destroyed and dozens more need repairs. All emergency services were working at the scene throughout the night, and the police were taking statements from the victims. Windows were blown out and balconies damaged in neighboring buildings. In various districts of Kyiv, there are 11 locations where destruction has been recorded.
Requests for assistance are being submitted through city programs and the e-recovery platform. In total, 4 districts were affected, with Sviatoshinsky and Darnitsky suffering the most, of course. In the Holosivsky district, a large number of windows were shattered.
It was a difficult Sunday night for the capital. Here is also a video from the Sviatoshinsky district, where a fire broke out on the upper floors of a residential building due to the enemy attack. Rescuers were working at different locations even as missiles were flying toward the capital. The city was shrouded in black smoke, and the state emergency service also extinguished fires in glass facilities. Aviation was also involved in extinguishing the fires. Helicopters drew water from the nearest bodies of water and kept returning to the fire sites again and again. Debris also damaged a building in Darnitsky. A fire broke out. This is what the building looks like. There is partial destruction of 2 floors here. A wall has been blown out and there are problems with the ceilings. The neighboring apartments were also affected. At least 2 people were injured here. Smoke also reached the city center. Later, rescuers confirmed that the Cabinet of Ministers building was damaged. The fire was brought under control, and Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko showed the damage both outside and inside.
And it all looks as though Russia is neither ready nor willing for peace, nor prepared for negotiations. That is why I have an appeal to our partners. Help us close the sky. Let's strengthen the sanctions against Russia.
The head of government also added that the world must respond to attacks on Ukraine's civilian population by supplying weapons. This should stop Russian terror. Olena Matsiutska, Andrei Klust, SN11.
7 horses died in Kyiv as a result of the Russian night attack. The martyrs attacked the horse club at around 3 in the morning. 3 attack drones, one after the other, flew over the territory where the animals spent the night. These were Geran-type drones, the owner of the stables, Yulia Tolpiha, told TSN. According to her, because of the heat, the horses were left outside overnight so they could get some fresh air. 7 animals died on the spot as a result of the attack. These were elite breed sport horses. They had repeatedly participated in national and international competitions. One of the horses that died had just recently won a prize, the club owner says. In total, out of 9 horses, only 2 survived after the attack. At the time of the strike, there were also stable workers in the club, but the people survived. Miraculously, the 3 dogs guarding the horses in the yard also survived.
Debris, nails, pieces of Shahed drones, traces of the impact. There were many horses here that had been with me for many years. I'm sorry.
17 people were injured and 4 had to be hospitalized. These are the consequences of the attacks on Zaporizhzhia. The day before, around 7 in the evening, the Russians attacked the regional center with 7 Shahed drones, hitting apartment buildings, private homes, a kindergarten, and a business. 2 people were killed and 5 injured in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The enemy struck the regional center with Shahed drones, causing fires to break out there. The occupiers hit Kryvyi with missiles and drones, damaging transport infrastructure and about a dozen apartment buildings. During repeated ballistic strikes, 4 civilians were injured. In Sumy region, 1 person was killed and 8 more were injured. In the Putilivska community, a Russian drone attacked a tent camp of vacationers. A 51-year-old woman died before the medics arrived. 7 people, including an 8-year-old boy, were injured. In the Krasnopil community, an enemy drone hit a car. A man was injured, and in the afternoon, the enemy struck the Sumy Regional Administration building with a drone. 4 people were injured, one of whom had an acute stress reaction. In Kherson, they have already questioned the pensioner who was injured in the shelling in the city center. 2 more people were wounded in Bilozerka in the Dnipro district of Kherson. Today, people were forbidden to go outside because of anti-personnel mines scattered by the enemy. The occupiers are mining the city remotely. 2 people were killed by the Russians in Donetsk region, and another 11 were reported wounded. Most of the victims are from Kostiantynivka. There, about a dozen apartment buildings, 38 private houses, 2 shops, and a post office were damaged. An enemy FPV drone also struck a civilian car near Sloviansk. A female passenger was killed and another 5 women were wounded. 2 people were killed and 3 wounded as a result of Russian shelling in Chernihiv region. Over the past day, the occupiers shelled the region more than 40 times. 3 people were injured as a result of a massive attack in Odesa region. By morning, the enemy had launched about 15 attack drones at the regional center alone. They targeted energy infrastructure and railway junctions. However, thanks to the work of air defense, most of the drones were destroyed in the sky. Some managed to break through and hit residential apartment buildings. It was only because people went down to the shelters that mass casualties were avoided. Serhiy Sachuk will tell you more about the enemy's morning attack.
Around 4 in the morning, a swarm of Shaheds descended on the city from 3 directions at once. Most of them attacked from the sea and approached at high altitudes to complicate the work of air defense. And the main strike hit the Primorsky district. In this building, not a single window is intact, and in one apartment, there's a hole in the wall. A Shahed crashed and exploded right in the children's room. The resident of the apartment tells how she and her 14-year-old son managed to avoid death.
I woke up, went to wake up my child, told him maybe we should go downstairs because it was very loud and sometimes he doesn't always agree to go down. This time though, he calmly got dressed. I kept saying, come on, faster. So we went down 2 at a time, and about 10 minutes later, I think, the explosion happened. Then they said it was on our floor and that there was a fire there, so we went upstairs and a neighbor gave me a fire extinguisher. And I tried to do something there. But there was so much dust, everything was buried. There was nothing left at all if you look.
In the courtyard, many apartment buildings are damaged and residents are gathering. People need to repair their windows and doors. It's getting cooler in the courtyard. Utility workers have also arrived here to quickly clean up the debris that's scattered all over the road.
We are now holding meetings with the residents, setting up emergency response headquarters and bringing in equipment. The main task for today is to seal up people's windows and doorways as much as possible and to process documents for financial assistance through the City Council. There is the Unbreakable Village program, which helps with all of this and does so quite quickly.
Medical personnel provided assistance to the affected people and then released them to go home. After the morning shelling, many people needed psychological support. This was reported by the State Emergency Service.
The work of the State Emergency Service units was complicated by repeated air raid alerts, which forced our rescuers to take shelter.
And this is what the Odesa Sports Palace looks like today. It was attacked by 4 strike drones at once. The explosion destroyed the ice rink, which was being prepared for hockey competitions. The cooling system was completely burned out. The machine that creates the ice surface was also destroyed by fire. Residents of the neighboring building are left without windows and are rescuing stray animals.
He was very frightened because he lives behind the building and the strike happened nearby. He has nowhere to go. The place where he was sitting was also hit by debris from the building. There were 4 impacts, all very close together.
Another Shahed drone struck the upper floors of a neighboring new building, causing destruction inside as well. The management of the sports arena says that the most important thing is that everyone is safe and that repairs will be carried out very quickly. They already have experience with a similar attack that happened 2 years ago. Serhiy Osachuk, Serhiy Holenyuk, Odesa, TSN 1+1.
Due to the overnight Russian attack on Ukraine, Poland scrambled its fighter jets. Ground-based air defense and radar systems were put on the highest alert. It is also noted that Dutch F-35s helped protect Polish airspace. This was stated in a statement by the Operational Command of the Armed Forces of the Republic. Overall, the international response to Russia's overnight attack using a record number of drones was quite tough. Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky called Putin a coward who attacks women and children and emphasized that those now calling for an end to aid to Ukraine are siding with the aggressor. The fact that the Kremlin wants to prolong the war was also noted by the president of Latvia. In a post on X, he noted that NATO countries must increase the supply of weapons to our country. The Latvian Prime Minister pointed out that for the first time a government building in Kyiv was attacked and wrote that Russia must be stopped. However, it was Ms. Katarina Maternova, the EU ambassador to Ukraine, who emphasized in her post that Russia's brazen terror must be stopped. President Zelensky received words of support from his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron during a phone conversation. The head of the Ukrainian state emphasized that together with France, they are currently working on new measures to strengthen our defense. In your opinion, what will be the reaction of the leader of the United States, Donald Trump? Be sure to write your thoughts in the comments to this broadcast on YouTube. Of course, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Meanwhile, I will continue with the TSN broadcast. The Russians continue to attack in eastern Ukraine. The enemy has advanced in Zverove in Donetsk region and near Ternove, Sishneve, Susnivka and Vorone. These are villages in the Sinelnikivsky district of Dnipropetrovsk region. This was reported by analysts from the Deep State portal. The most difficult direction on the front line remains the Pokrovsk sector. Over the past day, our defense forces repelled more than 50 attacks there. It is in the Pokrovsk direction that the Russian army has concentrated its main efforts. There, the enemy has formed its largest offensive group, which is trying to break through our defenses. At the same time, in August alone, in this section of the front, our defense force units managed to regain control over 26 square kilometers of Ukrainian land, while losing 5 square kilometers. A similar ratio in our favor can be seen in the Dobropilya direction as well. This was reported by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky, on his Facebook page. Now, moving on to enemy losses, here are today's figures from the General Staff. The Russian occupiers lost 970 soldiers killed and wounded over the past day. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian army has decreased by 188,150 soldiers. Our defenders have also destroyed the enemy's equipment and armor. Over the past day, more than 50 artillery systems and armored vehicles were destroyed. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, 58,017 tactical level drones and 3,686 cruise missiles have been neutralized. To date, 422 Russian planes and 341 helicopters have been shot down. At sea, 28 ships and boats, as well as 1 submarine, have been neutralized. The Russian Steel Horse couldn't withstand it and went up in flames. Last night, our defense forces struck a linear production dispatch station in the Bryansk region. It is part of the main oil pipeline complex Steel Horse, which has a pumping capacity of 10.5 million tons of oil. The video of the fire in the area of the pumping station and the oil pipeline's tank farm was published by the commander of the UAV forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Robert Brovdy. The targeted facility is of strategic importance for transporting petroleum products from Belarusian refineries to Russia. This attack will also complicate the supply of fuel and other provisions to Russian occupiers. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine also confirmed the strike on the facilities of the Ilsky oil refinery in Russia's Krasnodar region. It processes nearly 6.5 million tons of oil annually and is also involved in supplying the Russian military. In addition, our defense forces successfully attacked the locations of occupying personnel and their logistics supply depots in the Kursk region. Ukrainian soldiers say that striking Russian oil refineries is a special pleasure, because it is these refineries that supply fuel to the invaders' army, and besides, they burn especially intensely. Natalina Horna's film crew managed to witness how Ukrainian drones set out to strike Russia and then track on Russian social networks what was achieved. So, take a look at our next report.
What is this? We didn't go to the oil depot anymore, not at all.
This is the launch point for our long-range drones. It's a secret location, because this is where preparations are made for deep strikes to launch drones far into the enemy's rear. The soldiers of the 1st Battalion of the 14th Unmanned Systems Regiment are in high spirits.
It's just incredible how happy they are.
But they themselves say that the real emotions are still ahead. This is a dose of Ukrainian fury flying to cause an uprising in Russia. And we will be waiting for the results. Kasper, the battalion commander, is showing us the aircraft, and in moments like these, he always wants to be close to his men.
Today's paradise, just like it used to be Kyiv, Moscow. Today our paradise is Ukraine, Russia. It's going to be a lot of fun, it's going to be funny, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to burn, it's going to blaze. I think it will burn so much that they won't know what hit them.
Kasper warns that you can't let your guard down here. The Russians are constantly searching for where our drones are launching from.
Listen, it's always dangerous.
The launches are taking place on the Day of Remembrance for the fallen, so today the names of our comrades are here.
For all the fallen.
And not just for the adults. We know the drones will fly toward Russia, but as for exactly where, we can only guess.
Look, if some oil refinery is on fire, it wasn't us. It wasn't us, it was some good drones launched by who knows whom.
The number of aircraft heading abroad will remain classified information. How many planes are taking off?
Enough. I'll just say enough. Remember, it's like with that Rolls-Royce. When asked about the engine's power, the answer was enough.
But the operation can be considered successful even if just every third drone manages to break through the Russian air defenses.
These
drones are smart.
It already knows its target, where it's flying.
And they're expensive.
But the damage they'll cause will be with a coefficient of XXX. So all of this is economically justified.
And for each drone, it's a one-way trip.
It will be death for Ukraine.
Good luck, little one, go on. And so, on command, they take off into the sky one after another. Kaspar says we'll find out about the consequences of the strike from outraged Russians.
That's enough stories for today, but what about us? Well, friends, you're all involved, but what about us?
Now all we can do is wait. Meanwhile, somewhere in the Krasnodar region...
Do you really think it's a UAV?
It's already on fire. Residents of the region report that near Gelendzhik they hear sounds that, I quote, resemble explosions. In Krasnodar, they're counting so-called bangs. The local mayor urges city residents to remain calm and trust only official sources.
Yes, indeed.
So-called official sources report that there were 8 explosions, the drones were flying low and buzzing, a fire broke out, but at the moment it's unclear exactly what's burning.
Here now!
The oil refinery is on fire, visible from Yablonovsky. Residents are being asked not to take photos or record videos.
Here?
Again. Then they clarify that only fragments fell. Only one technological unit was damaged. The fire covered an area of 300 square meters. Supposedly, 30 drones were destroyed, and yes, it was an oil refinery, with a capacity of 3 million tons of fuel per year.
Something still reached the oil depot, there's black smoke coming from that side, and the emergency workers said that it really is there.
Air traffic is being restricted in Volgograd and Sochi, and ground routes are also being blocked, including the Yablonovsky Bridge and nearby streets.
We didn't go to the oil depot anymore.
We won't go to the oil depot anymore because it's burning hard, all around the perimeter. Smoke is rising.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian reconnaissance drones continue to keep flying and operating.
You can hear it, there it goes. There it goes.
This is already the Samara region, the city of Syzran. An even more powerful oil refinery, 8.5 million tons of fuel per year.
They're shooting at it just right now.
They're probably shooting at it. We need to get out of here. All of Samara is covered in smoke. Everything is black. Something's blowing up again over there. A drone struck.
Judging by the locals' comments, this isn't the first time something has hit here.
The refinery is burning again and there was a siren.
The Russian emergency alert asks people not to go outside. Planes are being grounded at the local airport.
Let's go, or they'll close Samara too.
Official reports state that some drone attacks were prevented, and they only mention an attempted attack. While Russian oil refineries were burning, the night in Ukraine was not an easy one. Shaheds and ballistic missiles were flying at us, but these attacks did not go unpunished.
Natalia.
Nahorna Ihor Siri, Oleksiy Tsober, Pavlo Sadovnikov, TSN. One verdict. Marathon United News.